All right, everybody, welcome to the Living in Southern Maryland podcast. Today we have Matt Baden on with us from First Home Mortgage. Matt, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Rob. Pleasure to be here again.
All right, so we're going to give the buyers and the sellers out there, of course, too, kind of an overview of what the housing market looks like right now, because we just don't know unless you're in the trenches. Before, when it was in the news a lot and we were hearing about low rates and multiple offers and all that kind of stuff on houses, it was pretty easy to understand what you're getting into. But I feel like the landscape has changed, and Matt has some valuable insight on kind of what it looks like right now because he sees so many different transactions. And also, we're going to talk about something called assumable mortgages. So make sure you listen to the end to hear more about that too. Okay, Matt. So go ahead, give us what you think. Like, what are you seeing on the lender level right now about the housing market?
Yeah, so thanks, Rob. I think, we're here at the beginning of October. The market shifts and ebbs and flows, but and a lot of it depends on location. A lot of it depends on listing quality. We're finding that, if a house is really great, in really great condition, and the price is right, it's going to draw a lot of attention from buyers still because, as a whole, there's still more buyers than there are listings. So the inventory is still low. Buyers still want to buy, even in a higher rate environment, because they understand that long-term outlook, if rates improve, prices are going to go up. So they're hoping, and this is kind of what we're hoping to educate people on is, if you buy now, ideally you're getting a little bit better of a price negotiation with the seller. And then if rates improve in 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, whatever it might be, you've now owned that house for that period of time. Your equity has continued to go up because you're paying the mortgage. The value has continued to go up just based on natural appreciation. So you're getting the best of both worlds of a better price on a house now in the current market, and then hopefully a lower interest rate and lower monthly payment in the future when rates improve. I would say as a buyer, if we're not seeing 10 to 20 offers on houses right now like we were in years past. But if you want to avoid a a bidding war, by all means, then I would say start to look for homes that have been on the market for 2+ weeks. Then
Yep.
you have a little bit more power as the buyer to be able to negotiate with that seller. You definitely can expect to be able to negotiate some seller credit, potentially a lower price point or other credits or rate buy downs, 2-1 rate buy down like we spoke about previously. So those are things that you can factor into your offer to hopefully, help you as the buyer feel more comfortable. And again, we always focus with our buyers on, is that monthly payment comfortable for you? And if it, even in a high interest rate environment, if it's still comfortable, then it's still a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Because you're always, real estate is tried and true. That value is always going to go up. Even at a traditional, even at a minimal rate of like 2 or 3%, and then the really good years much higher than that.
And I think that perspective that you and other, lenders have or mortgage brokers have is a big one because you see that growth over time. And a lot of times, especially the age group that's buying right now, they may have only bought one home or never have bought a home. And so it's scary to put down that much money. And you're hearing all these headlines of a possible crash coming and all that kind of stuff, which I think we both have talked about before with the amount of buyers present and the limited inventory, a crash likely just because of supply and demand. But still, like someone that's new to it just doesn't know that.
Right.
And going back to the price point you were talking about, if the homes are priced at a point where, buyers feel like it's a great deal, you're still going to get multiple offers. And I just had a listing. We were just talking about it before. I priced it too high. We priced it too high to start with. And normally when you price it too high and it sits for a little bit, you're going to sit there and wait for, after you drop the price, you're probably not going to get great terms for your seller. We dropped it to a price where it was attractive to a lot of buyers, and we got multiple offers after being on the market for 30 days. So it's not just, even if you see one that's been on there for 30 days, if they price drop that aggressively, they're still getting multiple offers. And we ended up over asking price on that listing, even though it sat for a while. So it's still, like you said, a competitive market. And there's ways you can ask for seller credit, but you really do have to have like a good agent and a good mortgage broker to really be out there working for you to get those deals before they, drop the price or before they change things up on you.
Yeah, and I think the most important piece of that is, as a buyer, having your team in place, having your lender, having your agent that know your goals, and then we focus on helping you accomplish that. If your goal is to have a monthly mortgage payment of $2,000, well, we need to focus on this X price point of homes. We need to figure out, okay, if you need some seller credit to make the bottom line work, well, we need to focus on some homes that have maybe been on the market for a little bit. We can't likely not going to get seller credit on a house that just listed a day ago. It's just the way the market is. So having that team in place to help prepare you for that and help you, essentially win in this market, is important.
So I agree with you 100%. And I think what a lot of buyers are thinking right now, they're hearing that the market is softening and they think when a home comes on the market within a day or two, they can ask for that seller credit. But I think you're right. And you've seen more files than I have. It's not those houses that are on for a day or two. It's a house that's on for 14 days or maybe 21 days. And that person
Right.
has somewhere they need to go. And that's where honestly you come into play and I come into play. We need to be calling the listing for our buyers and saying, hey, what's going on with this house? Like, what is the motivation of that seller right now? And we can tailor my approach and we can tailor the offer to those needs too.
Yep, absolutely. Every offer is different, and it's always dependent on our buyer and also that seller. We want the seller to like our offer, regardless of if we're asking for seller credit or not. We want them to feel comfortable that everybody essentially is going to win in this market, to kind of all work together. We're all buyers agents, listing agents, home buyers, sellers. Everybody just wants to feel like they've kind of gotten a deal. So if we can all kind of work together, keep this moving, help sellers sell homes and buyers buy homes, and keep the market moving for some better, hopefully better times in the future with a little lower interest rate.
And I think that would make buyers more comfortable too, and sellers more comfortable to make that jump to the next house. It's tough to give up those 3-4% interest rates that a lot of people are sitting on right now.
Yeah, and that's one of the major reasons why we have a low inventory is, home owners are not willing to increase their monthly payments on a house, even though they might need a bigger house. They might have had an extra kid, or a elderly family member moved in, and they're just kind of sucking it up and saying, we just got to live where we're living right now, because otherwise, buying something else, even though we might make a bunch of money on our house, the monthly payment's going to be a little bit more than what we might feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I got a good friend down here in Southern Maryland that is living with 4 girls and, the mom and dad in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house right now. And it's that same situation. They got a great deal on it. It is waterfront. They don't want to give up waterfront, but they know if they went anywhere else, the amount they'd be paying would just not make it worth it to them. So they're making do. They've got, multiple girls in bedrooms and stuff like that. And that's what people are choosing to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, but
bunk beds were made for a reason.
That's right. That's right. And now these bunk beds are pretty crazy with what they have, but so something that's been coming up a lot. I've heard from different buyers about this, but I actually had a buyer on my listing contact me about assumable mortgages. So he reached out to me through text and he asked me if my clients would be open to an assumable mortgage. They have an FHA loan. And to be honest with you, I didn't know much about the assumable mortgages. I knew it like enough through the trainings we've had and stuff like that. So I went around and kind of asked a few people and specifically asked their bank about them. But I want to kind of get some understanding from you about what an assumable mortgage is, which one can be assumed, and that kind of stuff. So maybe give us like kind of an overview, and I'll ask some questions as we go along for clarification.
Sure. All right. So basically, most government-backed loans are assumable. So that includes your FHA loan, USDA, and VA, FHA, USDA. So with that, the idea of it being assumable, the borrower or buyer still has to qualify for that loan. So any income limitations, any requirements for the loan are still have to be met by that buyer. Debt to income ratios, things of that sort. Um, the uh, loan servicer that is managing that loan at the time is the bank or servicing company that is going to handle an assumable loan. So from a time effective standpoint, if the seller is aware they have a assumable loan and they want to market that as part of their listing, they should ahead of time reach out to their loan servicer, request the assumable loan packet or information or whatever that loan servicer offers at that point to get the process started. The process is not fast. It can take anywhere from 60 to 90 to 120 days for an assumable loan to take place. So if a seller wants to sell quick, probably not the best option to offer, unless they're willing to offer pre-occupancy with kind of a rent scenario. And I've seen that. I have a client who is selling their house that I did the mortgage for, and they're doing the assumable loan piece on the VA side. Another VA buyer is assuming that loan, and they've already moved out. The new buyers are living there, paying the current mortgage rate to cover the costs, and it's going through the process. We're probably 45 days in, and it's still going through the process of getting finalized. So you just have to be prepared that it's not a quick process. And each bank mortgage servicer has their own way about doing things. It's not a standard kind of by the book guideline type thing like other traditional mortgages are. So it's a different experience probably for every assumable loan that goes through, but it is a great opportunity for buyers as well, because if someone is selling a house, you know, let's say they bought it in 2020 and they have a 3% interest rate. Well, rates today are in the mid 7%. If you can take over a loan that is 3%, your mortgage payment on that is going to be considerably lower. So the opportunity is there if you're willing to be patient, wait out through the process, either do a pre-occupancy or allow the seller to still live there, and you don't have to move in somewhere within 30 days. There's definitely great opportunity. One of the kind of caveats is an assumable loan is for that loan balance. So if the loan balance on this 3% interest rate mortgage is $350,000 and we're selling the house for $500,000, the difference has to be found somewhere. Some options, you can get like a second mortgage, HELOC type option to cover some of the difference. Most HELOCs don't fund up to 100%, so you're still going to have some type of down payment there. The other option is if you have the cash, you have the cash. It's great for you, and you just pay the difference, and you get this low mortgage, and you got a great payment. So a lot of times when we see the most favorable options for assumable loans are when it was purchased within kind of the last year. So there's not as much equity in the home. So the value of that mortgage is close to what is being sold. So
That
you
makes
either
a
only,
lot of sense.
yeah, so
Eh,
either you only have to come up with a little bit difference, which you might have been planning to put as a down payment anyways, or it's pretty close to what it's being sold for, and we figure out kind of the avenues to make that work.
So it sounds like it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's difficult. It can be lengthy.
Yeah,
And you're kind of in a tight window. If you really want to do it and you're an average buyer that doesn't have big cash reserves, which a lot of people don't have huge cash reserves right now, which
right.
is okay. But if you wanted to target these listings and find one in your area, if you could find a USDA or an FHA loan that was, originated in the last year or so or bought in the last year or so, and that seller was trying to move on, an assumable loan might be a good choice. But then you got a narrow window of opportunity there when the interest rates were low enough for it to make sense, and the equity in the house is low enough for you not to have to bring $150,000 to the table.
Right.
So it's a great option for that kind of, I'm not going to say unicorn, more like a Goldilocks property where it's right in the middle, but it's not like a tool you're seeing used all the time. Correct?
Yeah, correct. Exactly. It's I'd say advertised more than it's used. It's a kind of an advertisement, to get people in the door. But it has to work for the buyer and the seller.
I'm not going to put you on the spot about when you think interest rates are going to come down, because I don't think anyone knows when interest rates are going to come down. They're in the mid sevens right now ish. Something that I heard recently, and I'm going to be doing with a lot of my clients. I follow mortgage rates, but I know a lot of just everyday people don't follow mortgage rates. I read mortgage news daily every day. I'm sure you do too, Matt. But I'm going to try to be more conscious about letting people know when rates change. I don't know if that's something you guys do. Maybe send out notifications to people like when it makes sense for them to refi. But I want to start putting in rates and I don't know everyone's mortgage rate, but I thought that might be something that you guys do. And I was just curious if that is something you do.
Absolutely. So as far as refinancing and kind of monitoring our clients, current situation, we're always kind of monitoring the market, looking at previous clients that maybe bought a year ago, and if their rate is X, well, where are we at today? Are we higher? Are we lower? Are we in a position that it makes sense for them to refinance to save money? So that's something we're always kind of monitoring. We're not quite there yet. In most cases, we're a higher interest rate environment today than we have been for, I'll say 99% of my buyers in the last 3 years. I think when we get to that point, it's going to be exciting for us. It's going to be exciting for those people who did buy in the last couple of years, because they got that house that they really wanted. Even if they got it at a little bit higher interest rate. Now we're at a point where we can refinance, lower that payment, and save them some money. I mean, that's a great conversation to have, to be able to send over some numbers and say, hey, rates are X right now, and we can lower your interest rate by 1.5%. You're going to save $350 a month, and people say, awesome. Where do I sign?
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And I think you being the advisor, like we circle back to being the advisor back there, you being the advisor and being able to tell people when it starts to make sense for them, like, because you're monitoring rates, makes a lot of sense. I know that when I talk to buyers and sellers, most don't have a clue what's going on exactly with the interest rate. And a percent, like you said, 1.5% can make a big difference in a monthly payment. So again, another reason why, you need to be making those relationships with people like Matt, to make sure you're being taken care of. It's not even being in the know, because I know there's certain things in my life I don't want to know anymore. I just want the person that I'm trusting to do it to keep me in the know when I need to know. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on today. I look forward to this every single month, and next month I'm sure we'll have another exciting topic to talk about.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. It's always a pleasure. And if anybody has any, pertinent questions, time sensitive type stuff, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help.
Yep. And definitely, if you have any comments too, you want to add to this and ask some questions to Matt, make sure you drop them below, and we'd be happy to answer them on the next podcast as well.